Hey guys, Technomentary with a video for you guys on the iPhone 6 and is it still worth buying in 2020? So in this video we're going to take a look at some of the specs of the iPhone 6 and how it compares to the newer phone, and should you still get it, and how does apps still perform on the iPhone 6? So the iPhone 6 is iconic Apple flagship phone that Apple released for the first time with the 4.7 LCD display, which we thought was a bigger display because the iPhone 5 lineup had a 4-inch display, I believe, which was much smaller. So the first time Apple decided to increase the screen size on its phone. It was released back in 2014 of September. So this phone is almost 6 years old. So if you're looking to get even a used one, do be mindful that it is a quite old of a phone. But we'll kind of talk about, even though after 6 years, how does app function, and how does calling, texting work? We'll kind of take a look at some of the stuff. One thing to note about this one, that it did come in three different colors. You have the space gray, the gold, and then finally the silver one that I'm holding in my hand right now. You were able to get this in a couple different storage sizes. You have the 16 gig, you have 32 gig, 64 gig, and then 128 gig. And the other thing we'll note about this phone is it's using a A8 chip with the 1 gig RAM on it, compared to newer phones, I believe, run A13 chip with about 4 gig of RAM. So of course they upgraded the hardware on the newer phone, based on 2020, because that's 6 years down the line. Also, you'll notice with the iPhone 6 is its iconic home button and the 3.5 millimeter audio jack that is still available on the phone. So you eventually, as you know, if you're using a newer phone or saw the newer iPhones, those are gone on the newer iPhone. Also to note, one thing about the iPhone 6 is very lightweight and the design is slick compared to the iPhone 11 lineup now, which are a bit heavier and they don't have the home button for you. And to talk about, the basic need of your phone, for, if you're looking for a starter phone, calling and texting on the iPhone still works seamlessly well without really any issue. I haven't encountered any issues when I make calls, no audio issues, you're not having anyone complain about that. If you like to text a lot, you're able to still use all the cool functionality even that are available on the newer phone, such as emojis and such, without really any issues. So you have all those features. If you're looking up memes, you can also do that. As you see, I'm able to pull up memes without really any issue on the phone. So all of that is supported. So the next thing we want to talk about is browsing. So let's go open up Safari, see how well on a decent Wi-Fi, we can browse. As you note, it did take a couple seconds to actually open up just the Apple website itself. If we go to Bing, it opened up a little bit quicker here right now. As you saw, pictures are loading fairly quick, even for a site like Bing. Let's open up Google. As you see, there's like a second or two delay, but not really noticeable. When I use the newer iPhones versus this one, browsing wise, you're not going to see much of a difference. It really dependent on what kind of cellular data you have or Wi-Fi you have. If you have very fast Wi-Fi, you notice, you might see a second or two delay on the iPhone 6 compared to the iPhone 11, but that is really negligible. Even after 6 years of the phone being utilized, it still does a really well job. If you're looking for it to be a device simply for calling, texting, and browsing. So those are usually the main functionality you look for a phone such as this that's a starter phone. So definitely a great choice for a starter phone, I would say. Let's talk about some of the stuff like music streaming. So on this phone, I checked out some of the music streaming like Pandora, which, the audio still works pretty well. No real issue there. As you see, apps take slightly longer to launch because it is an older device, but once you're on it, you're able to start playing it. And when you sign up to your account, audio playbacks really well. let's talk about in terms of streaming services, right? So if you have Netflix, you're seeing right now it's able to launch up the app. No issues in terms of that as well. Hulu. What I notice about these apps is that there is a slight delay when you're watching, but once you got the app running and you open up your shows that you're watching, it goes by pretty smooth for the most part. So that's not really a issue for you. Let's take a look at YouTube here. So right, if you're looking to just browse YouTube mostly on the phone, as you see when you launch it initially, it takes a little second or two, but once you're launched, all the videos are opening up without really any issue that we can see. If I open up an app or click on stuff, it's doing it pretty well. So if I click on something here, you'll notice it's able to load that up pretty well. So no issue for watching YouTube videos as well. Let's talk about the next set of apps around social media. So if you use social media a lot, again, most of the popular social media, Facebook, Instagram, all are supported. They all work well because this is the iPhone 6. Even 6 years down the line, all of these major social media applications work without really any issues. Even Snapchat, if you use that as well, works fine. Initial launch, you'll notice there's always a bit of a delay, but once you get it up and running, it works perfectly fine. Let's talk about gaming here. So we'll go open up a gaming app. So the gaming app, you'll notice some of the more heavier graphic heavy game will take slightly longer to load up, but once it's load up, it will start rendering the image. You might see slight issue here and there. Right now I'm firing up a couple of games here, seeing how much time it will take to launch here, depending all on the graphics. Some are usually shorter, so as you can see here right now, you see as once it launches, you're able to play without really any issue. So gaming wise, I find still a good device if you're looking to play a lot of the popular games out there on the iPhones. No issue there as well. So let's talk about the next set of stuff around. I believe we want to talk about productivity tools such as if you're looking to use it for office, those apps for if you're looking for work or school will work without really any issues. Zoom as well works fine as well. I'm able to make to Zoom meetings and calls without really any issues there. So for that part, those worked as fine. Heavier games we talked about, these Fortnite and PUBG Mobile usually takes a bit long to launch and even start because they're very graphic heavy games. So you'll have to give it a minute or two sometimes for it to start loading up. So that might not be a good option for you guys. But other than that, works really well. FaceTime, still supported, works well on the iPhone. Let's talk about some of the cons or the bad component about the iPhone 6. So the iPhone 6, is actually, can only run on iOS. If you look at for about only on iOS 12, so it doesn't get any update past that. So if you're looking to use it for a couple more years, you might not be able to use it. You might not be able to use it after, let's say, 3-4 years from now, but the next 2 to 3 years, most likely the phone still will work. You'll still get security updates from Apple whenever you need. So right now this one's running at 12.4. So it's at the end of iOS support, which means apps are going to start to slow down a bit, which you'll notice because iOS 13 and 14 are on their way. You'll also notice over time if you are getting a used device or even a newer one, the battery life isn't going to be as great as the newer phones, because over time, Apple does go ahead and improve their battery life as well. In terms of camera, it does still do a good job in terms of taking selfies and just general photography picture. I believe it's able to record at high HD at 60 frames per second, which isn't bad for a camera that's 6 years old. The newer ones, you're able to record at 4K at 60 frames per second, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have other cool features such as like slow motion, time lapse. All of those neat features that you see on the newer phones are still available. Square panel, those are available. For camera, I think the camera is still pretty decent on the iPhone 6. So if you're looking for it to be a photography, if you're getting into that, the camera still does a decent job, but you're not gonna have some of the other cool features such as portrait mode on the iPhone 6. So our final conclusion is that the iPhone 6 isn't worth it in 2020. Simply, it's a phone that's a great option if you're a light user that uses the phone for basic calling, texting, and browsing, and simple social media component, and even use it for light picture and video recording. It's a great starter phone if you're looking to have a younger kid use it as their first initial starter phone, because it's simple to use and it's really intuitive and just clean overall compared to Android phones. But if you're looking to get a phone that has a little bit more feature, will be supported a little bit longer, we do recommend going up the price, maybe a 6S or a 7. They're still going to be supported in iOS the next couple of years, and you're likely going to get more out of those. But if you're looking for a cheaper option, the iPhone 6, like I said, link in the description below, you can get it probably around $80-$90 on Amazon and eBay, which is really cheap for an iPhone compared to when you paid hundreds of dollars back in 2014 when they first released it. So those are kind of our initial look at it and conclusion of the iPhone 6 in 2020. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you guys are looking to buy an iPhone 6, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be doing a lot of giveaways in the future of iPhones. Thanks for watching, guys.